Hi, hello and welcome back to F1 Challenge VB. My name is Mephisto and our epic journey through the history of Formula 1 continues today with the 8th round of the 1963 season, the United States Grand Prix. It was held on the 6th of October, it had 24 entries, 21 of them took part in the race but 10 ended up retiring. The race consisted of 110 laps completed in 2 hours, 19 minutes and 22 seconds. Graham Hill started the race from pole with Clark in 2nd, Surtees 3rd, Ginther 4th, Brabham 5th and Gurney started from 6th. After a nearly flawless drive, Graham Hill won the US Grand Prix from Ginther, who finished 34.3 seconds after Graham. Clark ended up in 3rd, he was 1 lap down. Brabham finished the race in 4th, he was 2 laps down. Bandini crossed the line in 5th and was 4 laps down, whilst de Beaufort took the 6th spot and was 11 laps adrift. Jim Clark was the fastest man of the race and he posted a lap time of 1 minute 14.5 seconds. Welcome to the exhilarating Watkins Glen circuit, where a lap starts off with a very short run into turn 1, a fast right-hander that takes us up the hill and through turn 2, a left-hander, then through turn 3 another right-hander. Be very careful coming up the hill and try to stay off the curb. Next is turn 4, a medium speed right-hander. Keep the car close to the inside and use the track camber to your advantage. Turn 5 is next, a left-hand sweeper that brings us into turn 6, another medium speed right-hander. This is followed immediately by turn 7, a medium speed left-hander, which leads into turn 8, the final corner of the track, a slow right-hander that brings us around onto the main straight, and that is a lap around the Watkins Glen circuit. Here we are in qualifying for the United States Grand Prix. Coming out of the final corner of the track, there's a car on the track, on the middle of the track. However, we managed to get around him and we posted a 110.135. Currently we are set in 3rd, which is quite nice. I tried to go even faster than this, but I couldn't really get myself to go any faster, and well, that was pretty much it for the qualifying. As we take a look at the previous United States Grand Prix winners, the last time we've won here was in 1961, so hopefully things will go well for us here today as well. Anyway, we have Graham Hill on pole with Richie Ginther in 2nd, Jim Clark is in 3rd, Tony Max 4th, Phil Hill 5th, and Innes Ireland rounding off the top 6. Next we have Jack Brabham in 7th, followed by Lorenzo Bandini in 8th, then we have Bruce McLaren in 9th and Jim Hall starting from 10th. Ludovico Scarfiotti is 11th, followed by Karel Godin de Beaufort in 12th, Joe Siffert 13th, 14th is Dan Gurney, Gerhard Mitter is 15th, 16th is Andy Higgs, followed by Joe Bonnier in 17th and Chris Amon in 18th. 19th is John Surtees, followed by Hap Sharp in 20th, 21st is Tony September, then in 22nd we have Maurice Trintignant, and bringing up the rear we have Giancarlo Baghetti in 23rd and Maston Gregory in 24th. So that is the grid lineup for this year's United States Grand Prix. Hopefully a good race. Hopefully a good race for Andy especially. And we are off a rather slow start on Andy's part, but that's okay because everyone's bogged down at the start here as we rush into turn 1 very quickly. You barely have time to speed up coming into this corner as we now go up the hill into turn 2, and one of the Ferraris loses control of the car, then gets hit by someone else into my path, and now I'm trying to keep my engine running, not to kill it. That would be quite embarrassing to retire so quickly as we now come into turn 3, trying to get around John Surtees here, but I can't really get myself around him. He then loses control of his car, starts slipping all over. I try to avoid a crash, but I once again collide with him. However, I keep going. We are up in 17th, and John Surtees once again loses control of his car, up in 16th, 15th now, 15th, 14th, 13th already as we come through turn 4 here. We've gained a bunch of positions, so that's quite amazing as we have take another look at the start. Again, it's slightly slow start for Andy, but that was pretty much the same for everyone else. We kind of got bogged down, mainly due to the fact that turn 1 is so close to the starting line. And there we see John Surtees losing control of his car, and then kind of ending up in front of my car, or rather Andy Higgs' car. But thankfully I managed to keep the engine running, so that's pretty good as we now come up through turn 3 once again. I try to keep away as much as possible from what was going on, but oh well. Here's a replay of Hap Sharp, who is coming off to turn 1. He loses control, touches the grass there, ends up to the left side of the track and retires from the race. Next we have Maurice Trintignant in number 7, loses control of the car as he comes up the hill. He goes up the embankment over the fence and he is also out of the race. Next we have Maston Gregory, who also loses control of his car and ends up at the side of the road and decides to retire from the race after this. This is followed by Joe Stifford, who, well, we saw. He lost control, flipped his car upside down, and he is also out of the Grand Prix. Next we have Graham Hill coming into turn 4. He loses control of the car, somehow flips it over the fence. He's in the trees and out of the United States Grand Prix. Next we see Tony September coming out of turn 4, loses control of his car, touches the grass, then goes off to the side there and hits another car, I think that of Jim Clark, and he is out of the race as well. We also have Jack Brabham coming out of turn 4, crashes into one of the Ferraris, kind of jumps up a bit, but ends up at the side of the road and he is out of the race. Next we have a replay of Jim Clark coming out of turn 4. Once again goes wide, touches the grass, loses control, crashes into those trucks on the right there, ends up at the side of the road and out of the race. Next we have a replay of Jim Hall, who loses control of his car and he's driving very slowly but will end up slowing down and stopping his car and will be retiring from the race as we now come around to start lap 2 here, and we see Ireland in the middle of the road there being a nuisance as we move up into 9th place now thanks to all the retirements from turn 1 and from lap 1, and we are not done yet as we see a replay of John Surtees here driving on the side of the road there on that dirt embankment. He drives off the map and falls through the map and is out of the United States Grand Prix. Next we also have a replay of Ludovico Scarfiotti, who loses control of his car and crashes into the fence on the side of the road, flips his car upside down and he is out of the race as well. And now we have a look at Chris Amon, who loses control of his car coming out of turn 3. He barely manages to keep it on the road, then gets collected by someone else. He's flipped upside down and he's out of the race as well. We now take a look at a replay of Giancarlo Baghetti in the number 30 Ferrari, who pulls to the side and is out of the United States Grand Prix as we now start lap 3, and I am about to overtake Karel Godin de Beaufort. I was very careful through the corner not to do anything stupid, but as soon as we got onto the straight here, I floored it and we are now in 4th, chasing after Joe Bonnier. Hopefully we can catch him as well very shortly as we take a look at a replay of Tony Maggs, who ends up retiring as well, because why the bloody hell not? He ends up on this embankment, like I forgot who it was previously, and once again drives off the road, and that's the end of his race. And here is a replay of Dan Gurney. We saw some flames coming out of his car and then thick black smoke as well, and he is out of the race obviously with a blown engine. Next we see a replay of Richie Ginther, who crashes into a car that was parked on the middle of the track, not quite sure why. He ends up at the side of the road. He's trying to get back on, well, he's not trying to get back on the road, he's driving on the side of the road there, and eventually decides that that was all he wanted to do for some reason. Anyway, we move on to lap 4 now, still chasing after Joe Bonnier, slowly reeling him in, which is absolutely fantastic. Hopefully in a few laps time we'll be able to overtake him. As we take a look at Ireland, who loses control of his car coming out of turn 3. He ends up at the side of the road and out of the Grand Prix as well. We now move on to lap 5, still chasing after Bonnier. He managed to pull away from us a bit, but we'll be persistent and hopefully at one point we'll be able to catch him. And now we have a replay of Lorenzo Bandini coming around to start a new lap. However, he loses control of his car coming into turn 1 and also drives up the map. Then on lap 6 I come wide into turn 4 here, briefly overtake Joe Bonnier. However, obviously because I'm stuck between a rock and a hard place, so to speak, I lose a bunch of time. This reminds me of Italy last time, so that's kind of weird. And this is Bruce McLaren coming around to set the fastest lap of the race. Even though he went kind of wide, he managed to set the fastest lap somehow. I'm not quite sure, but congratulations to him, I guess, as we continue to close in on Joe Bonnier, who for some reason is at the side of the road. We move up into third, and Joe Bonnier is out of the United States Grand Prix. Not sure what happened there, but I'm sure there's going to be a replay. Yes, there is. He's coming around, coming into turn 6. This was very wide, crashes into those hay bales, loses his front wide, and he is out of the race. As we now come around to start lap 28, and Phil Hill is also out of the race, which means we move up into second position. Absolutely fantastic news for Andy. However, not so fantastic news for Phil, obviously. And here he is coming into turn 2, pulls to the side of the circuit and out of the race. Not quite sure what happened, but I'm sure he had a very good reason. As we now move on to lap 30 here, chasing after Bruce McLaren, slowly reeling him in. And here is a replay of Karel Godin de Beaufort coming off through turn 3. He loses control of his car, touches the grass, ends up at the side of the road and out of the United States Grand Prix as well. Actually, he tries to move on, but eventually he retires. As we now move towards the end of lap 30, Bruce McLaren went very wide into turn 7. Now through turn 8, go take the inside line and move up into the lead. Andy Higgs is now leading the United States Grand Prix. Absolutely fantastic. Although there's not much competition, there's still Bruce McLaren, so still a lot to fight for. Not many laps left in this race now, so Andy Higgs will have to keep it together now. As we now come on to lap 38, the final lap of the race, and Bruce McLaren is falling behind very quickly. Something happened to Bruce McLaren. He's out of the United States Grand Prix on the final lap. What has happened here, I don't know. Here is a replay. He's coming into turn 4, very wide, crashes into those hay bales, loses his front left, and that's an absolute shame. As we now come around the final corner of the race here to take the win of the United States Grand Prix, kind of unceremoniously. That was an absolutely appalling way for Bruce McLaren to end his race on the final lap there. Thankfully, he managed to complete 90% of race distance, so he will be scoring some points, but in terms of competition, that was kind of, well, bad. Pretty much everyone retired except for Andy Higgs, so that was not a very good end to the United States Grand Prix, but hey, what can you do? Anyway, here are the career statistics, and this was Andy's 119th Grand Prix. His best start is from first, has 8 pole positions, has set 17 fastest laps. His best finishes in first, has completed 77 races, 61 of them in the points, has won 36 Grand Prix, 4 at the Indianapolis 500, 6 in Monaco, has 7 championships under his belt, has scored a total of 415 points, has 42 retirements, has experienced 2,583 out of 3,196 laps, has 6 bronze trophies, 12 silver trophies, 36 gold trophies, and as an extension, 36 podiums. And here is a quick look at the championship standings. Andy Higgs takes the lead of the 1963 Drivers' Championship. Absolutely fantastic news for him. Dan Gurney is in second, Phil Hill third, John Surtees Bonnier and Tony Max fighting for fourth. The last person to score points is Graham Hill down in 18th, and bringing up the rear of the standings we have Tony September in 24th. So those are the driver standings. Let's take a look at the constructors now. Here Brabham Racing and Team Lotus are sharing the lead, both on 27 points. Automobili Turismo Esport Sport are in 3rd, 4th are Cooper Car Company, 5th are British Racing Partnership, and Ferrari are fighting for 6th with RRC Walker Racing Team. The last team to score points are Team Parnell Racing down in 12th, and bringing up the bottom of the constructors standings are Scirocco Power Racing, who are yet to score any points. So that was the United States Grand Prix, an absolutely fantastic result for Andy, although kind of disappointing there at the end. Bruce McLaren retiring from the race on the final few corners, but hey, what can you do? I'm sure Andy's quite happy with this result, although again, it's kind of bittersweet given the circumstances. And with that, he takes the lead of the driver's standing, so that's quite interesting, and I'm sure that we'll see quite a bit of competition going into the final 2 races with Dan Gurney and maybe even Phil Hill, the only contenders to this year's title. So we'll have to wait and see how things will go. Anyway, our next race is the Mexican Grand Prix, a new venue this year in the calendar. Looking forward to it, although I'm not very fond of the circuit. An interesting circuit nonetheless, and hopefully things will go well there as well, although I'm not expecting much given that I'm not very good at that circuit. But anyway, that is the end of this video. Not much more to add to that. Again, quite disappointing given that pretty much everyone retired by the end of it, so... Well, actually everyone retired by the end of it, so there wasn't too much competition, which is, well, a bit annoying. What can you do really here? With that said, don't forget to vote for next season's team, link is in the description. I also have a second channel where I will be playing all sorts of different games. At the moment I'm doing a playthrough of Homefront and the Red Solstice, so if you're interested in any of those games and more, there will be a link in the description to my second channel as well. I hope you guys enjoyed this video, thank you all so much for watching, and as always, stay sharp!